Hey everyone, James Marin here, and today I want to talk about fight scenes. Now, in my opinion, this is some incredible camera operating, and it's also an awesome display of fight choreography. But Jackie Chan verbalizes my point perfectly.
When the camera angle movement, that means the actor, they don't know how to fight. The director used the angle. Then the audience just very dizzy. Yeah, there's something going on. Then suddenly, boom, finished.
With that said, how come modern day fight scenes tend to just default to handheld? And is it better to have more subdued camera work in exchange for letting the audience take in what's happening? Let's see an example from the man himself. So not only do we get to see the action play out cleanly, but because the takes are longer, we get to see more of the fight choreography play out in real time. And in my opinion, it makes the action more believable. But is that an old and boring approach to action? What happens when we plant the camera down and use longer takes in a more contemporary action movie? Allowing the action to play out in front of the camera, as opposed to creating it with a wild moving camera, allows the audience to register who's winning or who's losing the fight, rather than quick cuts and quick camera movements simply showing that action is happening somewhere within the scene. Now, let's look at something that's probably a bit too cut up. Now, that was a 10-second clip with 13 different cuts, which averages one cut every 0.7 seconds, which is just insane. And it's so fast that the audience just gets lost in what's happening or how it even happened. But let's be fair and play out the rest of the clip.
Ori,
dog. The space and the people aren't quite established, at least not like in the clip from Haywire or Jackie Chan's Police Story, which means the audience has to just accept that there's an unknown amount of people coming from who knows where, and that our hero will make it out unscathed.
The audience just very dizzy.
Also, the pacing of the edit moves so fast that we can't quite register what's happening, and therefore we have to just accept that stuff is simply happening.
And suddenly, boom, finished.
What happens when we include guns? Shouldn't that be more fast-paced and handheld because there's more action involved? Well, not necessarily. Longer cuts and wider framing don't just work for hand-to-hand combat-oriented action sequences. On the contrary, no matter what kind of action sequence it is, it's always important to let the audience register what's happening. So let's go ahead and break this clip down. Here we establish how many people are involved in this sequence. The audience can clearly see there's 2 opponents currently. Now we establish more of the space and all of the people, including John Wick and his opponents, in relation to one another. Here we establish one more opponent, but more importantly, where they are in relation to one another. Now, here's my favorite part, and that's because this plays out in real time, making the audience feel like they're witnessing it as it's happening. It feels like an actual struggle rather than a constructed action sequence, and in my opinion, it's more impressive. It also gets to show off some of that beautifully rehearsed and orchestrated fight choreography. But does every action sequence need to be in longer takes and wider framing in order to let the audience register what's happening? Sometimes adding quicker cuts and tighter lensing does make for a more dynamic sequence, but notice how ultimately it's the action that's happening in front of the camera that's making it dynamic, as opposed to going handheld in order to make the sequence more dynamic. Let's break this one down a little bit, as it also follows the same basic principles. First, they establish the space and the people. Then there's the quick cuts to make it feel fast and dynamic. But it also lets the audience register what's happening. Every now and then, they slow it down to show that Tom Cruise has essentially been beat. It's not all one big mess of quick cuts. It's slow, then fast, then slow again, so the audience can catch up. But not everything needs to be about hard and fast rules, and not everything needs to be planned down in order to show the action cleanly. And as a camera operator, going handheld is 1,000 times more fun than it is to operate from sticks. So here's a clip from the movie The Raid. It still follows the same basic principles, establishing the space and the people, and using some longer moments so the audience can catch up and register what's happening. Check out how they even establish the space and the people all in one shot. So although the camera is very dynamic and the edit is fast-paced, it's not necessarily messy. There are still moments where we hold on the action just a little bit longer in order to see each and every hit, therefore allowing the audience to catch up and register what's happening, like in this moment. And this moment. Now let's go back and look at that clip from Extraction. This is as much of an establishing shot as the audience gets. However, it's facing the opposite direction where most of the action actually takes place. Most of the action takes place facing in this direction, but we aren't shown this until after the sequence is finished. Now, I'm not saying that Extraction is bad or that the fight choreography or camera work is bad. All I'm saying is sometimes we overindulge in trying to do flashy camera work over what serves the story best or the best way to communicate to the audience what's happening within the scene. But also, to be perfectly clear, doing flashy camera work is way more fun to do than doing planted down stuff on sticks or like a dolly or anything like that, just because being handheld means you're a part of the action. And again, that's just 1,000 times more fun than being at a tripod planted down on a frame. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you took away some information that's going to be helpful to you in your next project. Feel free to leave me some feedback on what you liked about this video, what you didn't like about this video down in the comments. And also, if you want me to expand on anything that I touched on this video, feel free to let me know, and perhaps I'll make another video like this in the future. And, thanks for watching.